Grandpa Josh and the stable.
Hey! Woo, 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 woo! Yeah! Yeah!
In the world did they get you to say Grandpa?
It's permeated. Excuse me, I'll watch my P's.
Please, there's children here.
And my Q's, that's right. Cross my T's and dot my I's.
Oh, slow down. Slow down. Doing too much right there already.
Right? All right. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the live podcast stage here at Indy PopCon 2025. We were excited earlier today to talk to a couple of friends who came through and realized that this is our 12th year at PopCon Indy, the 15th PopCon event that Josh and I have been able to come to and podcast at, and we're just excited to be here. We've actually got a couple of new friends, as you can see on the panel. We're going to introduce them here in just a second, and we'll see what happens with the rest of the show. But just talk a little bit about wrestling and what that looks like. And before I get into too much, let me go ahead and introduce, or at least open up the table to introductions. We're going to go ahead and start down on the very end. Let us know who you are and where you're from and why we should know a little bit more about you.
See, this guy's smart. We should always start with me.
There you go.
My name's Mark Magnus. I've been wrestling training since about last September. Wrestling since Comic-Con this year. I'm from Pittsburgh, born and raised, and I don't know what else there is to say about me other than I'm just a pretty chill dude who loves wrestling. I love getting out in front of the crowds and making people happy. I love making them excited. I love bringing my energy and letting them absorb it all. That's just a little bit of what I'm about. Let's, I guess, give it over to this guy. I don't know why we would, but I guess we should.
All right, and to Mark's immediate right.
Now that we got the bum and his introduction out of the way, keep in mind, guys, this guy to my left, 0-6 against me. Numbers never lie.
It's changing tonight, though. It doesn't matter. It's changing tonight.
That's what he's telling himself.
Right.
But anyways, now we're to the important person. I hail from the great garden state of Jersey City, New Jersey, taking WCWO and professional wrestling by storm every single coming day. I am Mr. Friday Night Mike Noble.
All right.
Mike Noble.
Now, to my immediate right, we have...
This is Josh, apparently lovingly known as the Grandpa here at PopCon, which is always entertaining because I'm not even 40 yet somehow I became Grandpa. Oh, great. I get a chant.
That's right. We want Grandpa.
We love Grandpa. I love claps. That's how I start.
Hey,
all my
we're slowly...
Basically 5.
Mike, we're slowly going to turn you face. I just want being on this podcast, we're slow.
There is not a
we're
single.
going to turn you into a mega heel.
There is not
one.
a single thing we
Either
could do
one.
that could redeem this man in any way whatsoever.
Okay,
I don't
all right.
believe it.
Many have tried.
All right.
They'll still fail.
And, of course, I am your host, Big Don. And, again, we are here at PopCon Indy for the Stable podcast. I'm actually really excited that we've got a couple talents from WCWO. Josh and I and several of our friends are big fans of indie wrestling as well as WCWO in general. We live on the southeast side of Indianapolis. We've actually had a couple of friends who have worked within the sacred walls of WCWO, which has been really cool. And so just to kind of continue to see that develop and mature and to see new talent from everywhere, whether it be, East Coast, Jersey City, whether it be Northwest Side in Pittsburgh, whether it be, California, Washington, wherever. It's always great to be in Indianapolis. I know that a lot of people give Chicago tons of props for being a huge wrestling fan city, but I do think that Indianapolis is truly growing into a wrestling city. Obviously we just had the Royal Rumble here this year, which was incredible. First major, and I've been to one or two other pay-per-views, but nothing touched going to the Royal Rumble and being able to see the magnitude of that. Now, I want to get to know Mike and Mark a little bit more. Mike, I'd like to start with you.
Smart choice.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
smart choice.
Yeah, you know.
Vendor, main attraction.
There we go. I want to. Yeah, absolutely. So what started your journey inside of professional wrestling? Where did you begin your training, and where have you been able to kind of travel and go with your career so far?
Okay, so I got into professional wrestling around 25 years old. I kind of got to that point where as I was getting back into watching everything, I wondered, that seems really cool. If not, maybe not easy. In my head, I thought it was easy. But that seems really cool to do. If I'm going to try it, it's a lot easier at 25. It's a lot later than I would like to. I probably should have did it at like 21, like a bunch of those other cats were doing. But I got in at 25. I started at WCWO. I've grown over here at WCWO. I have gone as far west as Illinois. I've gone down south, close to Kentucky. I can't say Kentucky exactly, but down by Jeffersonville.
Hey, we know some people down in that area.
Yeah, I'll say I was just talking to a good gentleman. He lives right down from the arena that I wrestled at over down there. So shout out those guys at the arena, at TCW and at Grindstone and everybody over there. But I've loved every single bit of it. I got into it. I knew it was going to hurt. I knew it was going to kind of be difficult. But I've given a lot more of my life to a lot of things that I did not enjoy. And I absolutely love this stuff, man. So
Good. That's awesome. And you said you got started when you were 25.
Yes, sir.
So how long what has been your career length thus far?
I guess, so I'm 27 now.
Okay.
So I debuted April of 2024.
Wow.
And is now June, July,
Yeah.
June 2025. So
Just a
wrapping up
little over a
over
year. That's awesome.
Working. If you ask me, I still don't know half of what I'm doing. It's just kind of
Sure.
figure it out. But it's
No
a trial and error
surprise there.
process. Why are you
Wow.
interrupting me?
Wow.
I'm just messing with you. It's out of love, buddy. I promise.
0-6.
Oh.
0-6.
Yet I still got this big old smile on my face.
Okay. Well.
It's gonna be a knee gonna be going right in place of it. Best
All
believe
right.
it.
Well, speaking of smiles, let's go ahead and jump over to Mark real quick. Mark, tell us a little bit about your history. What got you into wrestling? Where did you start? Where was your debut like? And where have you gotten a chance to jump
Yeah.
in the squared circle and roll around with some folk?
So I've had a lot of stops and starts in my career. First time I ever really got fully exposed to it, 2008. The first time Jeff Hardy wrestled on SmackDown after being drafted. I believe it was their July 4th show, and he wrestled John Morrison. And I remember just being captivated by the colors and the beauty of it all. And so over the years, I just kind of kept watching it, kept getting into it. And I've tried at a couple of different wrestling schools here and there. I've gone, I've failed, I've gone, I've failed, and eventually I ended up here. I've been training since last September. Debuted at Comic-Con this past year, and I would say that my best description for this all is just a whirlwind. I tell you what, I didn't think after a while of stopping and starting, I kind of felt like I was going to give up. But I just thought, screw it. One last chance. Might as well go for it. And, here I am now. I'm 0-6 against this guy, but I'm still doing something that I never thought I was going to be able to do.
There you go.
And, that's an important thing I want to tell people is to just not give up. Because if you do, who knows? Maybe that next try, maybe that was the one. So.
Unless your next try is against me. Sorry.
See, this is what he
Oh,
does. He likes to let me get all the way up there and then just
Tear them all the way down.
I
5
love
words
it.
or less. I love
I
it.
love it.
We all have our roles. We have those who are encouraging, and we have those who might think they're realists, and then there's Mike.
Exactly. And then there's Mike.
You gotta be a little delusional in this business, right?
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. It is a business of big characters, big decisions, and it's really cool to get a chance to meet you guys and talk a little bit about your career. Now, one thing that we really love to do on the stable is, we'll talk about some of our favorite wrestlers, our favorite storylines. So, how long have you guys been wrestling fans? How long? I know, Mark, you said 2008.
2008, yeah.
Jeff, okay, so Mike, I'll give you a second to think about it because I know that your answer will be, incredible. And I want to give Mark the opportunity to give us a great foundation for you to build off of. Mark,
Yes.
as the true golden-hearted babyface, what would you say is like the pinnacle of your? I won't say Mount Rushmore, but when you think
okay.
think of like your favorite wrestlers or people that when
Favorite
you look
wrestlers.
at, you're like to have a storied career like that, and it could be anywhere. It could be indies. It could be that middle rung when it comes to Ring of Honor or something along those lines, or even like the AEWs and WWEs of the world. Where would you say your fandom and your allegiance falls when it comes to wrestlers? Who do you like to watch? Who do you like to imitate? That sort of thing.
So first things first, I already mentioned him. Jeff Hardy's the first on that Mount
Okay.
Rushmore. It's the whole beat of my own drum mentality. I like to take that out whenever I walk through that curtain. I don't dress like the typical wrestler. I don't really look like the typical wrestler. So I just like to shut up, Mike. So I just like to beat, like I said, to the beat of my own drum, like him. Second on that list, Brian Danielson. He was there when I came back to wrestling. I had a bit of a dip where I didn't watch between maybe 2013 to 2016, and when I came back, he was coming back, and I remember his whole story about being injured and not being able to do it anymore, not having all the doctors tell him no, and he just kept fighting for it, fighting for his dream, until eventually, of course, that dream fought for him. Now I'll go a little dark on this next one, Bray Wyatt.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Again, he's another one. When I came back to wrestling, it was 2016. I saw him, and it's the creativity. It's the way he held a crowd, the captive audience anytime he was in an arena and speaking. And then as for number 4, now that one's kind of a toss-up.
Mike Noble.
No.
Mike Noble.
No, you would go on the
Love it.
you would go on the ass end of that
Oh,
of that Mount Rushmore. No, I'm going to say
Now I got to work.
just for the hell of it,
PG show, brother. PG show. Come on.
Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels.
Shawn
Okay.
Michaels. He was
Good choice.
I watched his WrestleMania match with The Undertaker, WrestleMania 25, and then the rematch. I remember his retirement speech, and I remember looking to my dad during it and just being like, that's a guy who I want to grow up and be like. And that's kind of where I'm at on my Mount Rushmore. What about you, Michael?
Okay. Go ahead, Mike. Give it to us.
Mike Noble. No.
We knew it. We all knew
Yeah.
that was the
Goated
answer.
as
I
that
love
list
it.
would be, I'll give you a more genuine, a more realistic.
Genuine.
That's the name. Don't wear it out. But let's start off with one of the biggest pillars in professional wrestling from the mid-2000s and the 2010s, the phenomenal AJ Styles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-oh, I'm
Carried
gonna
the
like this
entire
guy now.
company on his back, obviously along with a good handful of other talented guys like Joe, Daniels, the list goes on and on. A whole bunch of guys not named Mark Madness. But the way he was able to do everything he wanted to do and make it look so effortless. And then you got to go, again, someone else that kind of carried the 2000s, 2010s, Randy Orton.
Oh,
Especially 2009, bald-headed, punting you and your grandma in the head, Randy Orton.
legend killer.
Good old legend killer. We're going to go
We got-
number 3.
We got a John Cena cosplayer back here giving us the
Look at that bum in that fake belt. I win real championships, buddy. I win real ones. I have to go buy mine off Fanatics.
Don't listen to him. He's just sour.
If you don't like me, come to room 143 and watch
list.
me get beat up. But anyways, number 3, before I was rudely interrupted by Mark Madness, we're going to go peak Angle. We don't use the other term
That's
that
right.
the internet endeared because we
Peak
love
Angle.
Kurt Angle.
Yes, we do.
Everything, Kurt Angle. Eddie Show. Kurt Angle. Give me it every day. And number 4 has to be the pioneer, the pipe bomb.
Ooh, okay. All
Good
right.
old Go, Mr. CM Punk, the voice.
Harken
The
back
voice
to that
lo-
Chicago crowd. Yeah.
You went from
And it's crazy too because being from Jersey, like there's a bunch of people from out there, especially the
Jersey.
ECW area. I could have picked, but I mean, if I'm looking at 4 guys that really held down the game, I feel like all 4 of those guys did it around the same time and didn't get in each other's way in the same time. And I think it's very beautiful in wrestling.
Very
Good stuff. That's good stuff. Those are all great choices.
almost all.
Well, duh, it's me choosing them. So
All right. So, Joshy, I'm going to ask you the same question. We've probably talked about this a little bit.
Okay.
But with what's been talked about already, I get. You know what? I'm going to change it up just a little bit.
Okay.
When you think about the current atmosphere and environment of professional wrestling, who do you see as being a future Mount Rushmore face?
White Noble.
Just one.
Just one.
Kenny Omega.
Kenny Omega.
Okay, that's fair.
Under
right.
like this, that's not even a discussion for me at this point. Like, because there are some really great guys in both organizations right now, but I believe, like in current, as you said, future, because I believe that in
Yeah.
some discussions that Chris Jericho belongs on some people's Mount
Oh,
Rushmore.
100%.
Oh yeah.
That guy is an innovator.
But he's not future. So
Right.
when I look at future, I see the likes of the Roman Reigns and the Seth Rollins and even
Braun
Cody
Breakers
Rhodes,
even.
Kenny Omega, Kazuchika Okada. Like, these guys are gonna sit on people's. Like, I started watching wrestling because I saw that guy doing something.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny Omega is 100%. I'll see him. I look forward to that conversation in the future.
You can also have that same argument with a certain Will Ospreay as well. I
Yes.
mean, they're
very
pretty
much
much
so.
yin and
Very much
yang.
so.
You know what I mean?
That's
and
my wife's answer. She's not here.
I'm gonna say, obviously, I mean, both those guys going neck and neck for the best wrestler in the world, if not of all time, is only gonna do nothing but catapult the business more and more for everybody
yeah.
from the bottom up.
I'm going to have to hearken to Mr. Mike Noble's position and say one of my future Mount Rushmores is going to be one Maxwell Jacob Friedman. MJF.
Absolutely.
I mean, we can talk all day and all
God's gift to professional wrestling.
night. There you go.
Before I got there.
Right. There you go.
Of course.
Made an appearance
There you
at the
go.
Outlaw Arena at one point too.
Absolutely, he did.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He
1151
lived-
Kentucky Avenue.
I love that
lived
video
in
too, man.
lived in Greenwood for a short time and trained and wrestled here in Indianapolis, and yeah, just an incredible talent. And what I think is interesting is I will never take anything away from Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, Will Ospreay, John Moxley, like the guys who are at that upper echelon of talent. But there is something to be said about. Okay, I'm going to make this quick comparison. I am not necessarily a race car fan.
Yeah.
I don't watch the Indy 500 or
Me either.
racing in general. But what I do
Fall
love
asleep.
is I do love people who have built sleepers. So a car that you look at and you're like, there's no way that thing is going to, a Chevy Cruze pulls up next to you and then all of a sudden does a 40 in 3.5 seconds, that kind of thing. MJF, in my opinion, is a sleeper talent. He is a guy that does not have to go out there and be flashy, but he can. He can go with Kenny Omega. He can go with Will Ospreay. He's not the same acrobatic talent that those guys are, but it reminds me a lot of watching people wrestle The Miz. The Miz does not need an incredible high-flying talent reel to just be an incredible talent.
Right.
Absolutely. And I mean, think about it this way. Like, nowadays, you'll see Miz at, 39, 40 years old? He's busting out springboard cross bodies and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people don't realize, even some of the bigger guys in all these companies,
Yeah.
they could do all the cool, fun stuff that you
Yep.
see on the indies. A lot of those guys can. It's just a matter of what works for you and what makes sense for you.
Right.
Some of these guys at this point are now 35, 40 years old, and they don't want to do their 450 off the top rope anymore.
Right, yeah, they don't want to bang themselves up
Some of
too
these
much.
guys are like 26 and can't do a 450 off the top rope.
To be fair, I haven't tried it yet, so we don't know
That's right.
technically.
That's because
Get the
you
crash
know you
pad
break-
out. Get the
Exactly,
crash pad out.
He's Mark Madness, right? He's a big man. He don't need no crash pad.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'm a big enough man to where if I land on you, it'll hurt. How about that?
That's why you can never land on me.
All right. Well, I just want to thank Mike Noble and Mark Madness for joining us here on the Stable Podcast. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Where can we see you here at the convention, and where can we see you after the convention closes?
We are in rooms 143, 44, and 45. And if you want to catch us later tonight, we're at 7:30 p.m. bell time, 1151 Kentucky Avenue at the Outlaw Arena. Come check us out.
Literally-
Come check me pin this guy for the territorial title contendership.
All right.
He's not gonna do that. But the thing is,
Yes,
on
I
top
am.
of that, he doesn't know how to market correctly because I'm also going to plug in my social media as like a
There
smart
we go.
professional indie
There we
wrestler.
go.
So you can
Magnus
follow me on
underscore
Instagram.
wrestling. Magnus underscore wrestling. Magnus underscore wrestling.
You can follow me on Instagram at NobleNoble1313. That's also my TikTok. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Mike Noble Wrestling. We on my Facebook page as well. We got a bunch of cool stuff coming. Merch is getting dropped this weekend. I'll be over there at 130, 43, 44, 45,
Not
selling
bad
that
merch
same merch. Mark Madness, if you don't shut up and walk away from me, I'm about to super kick you on camera.
Woo! All right.
That being said, please do come to our 1151 Kentucky Avenue shows every single Friday. Bell time 6:30, door is 7:30. You can watch Mr. Friday Night live in the flesh be the greatest blue chip prospect on the planet Earth in this business.
There you go.
Well, thank you for being your blue chip and madness selves. Now, please put the microphones on the table.
Wow. This is, just so you guys know, this is my heel right
That's
here.
right.
This is.
I like this guy. I like you too, but
I appreciate it. I
he's
appreciate
He's
it.
gonna be my new best friend.
That's
right.
fine.
You're
I'm
just
working
growing
on it.
me.
I'm working
other
on it.
than
I'll be a
liking
lot
CM
more than you're
Punk.
growing on.
We're
Enjoy
in
the rest of the
agreement.
convention, everybody.
Absolutely.
There we go. Thank you guys so much, and you can leave your live mics right here on the table. You guys, thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up for Mike Noble and Mark Madness joining us here on the Stable Podcast. Wow, that was a lot of fun. Thank you guys. And you guys probably didn't see it, but Mike Noble just thumbed Mark Madness right in the eye. Right in the eye. Love it. Love it. Well, I mean, okay, well, we got a couple of empty chairs now, but Joshy, I guess maybe getting into our discussion subject matter a little bit. Recently, I've been watching a couple of, don't get mad at me, a couple of other wrestling podcasts.
Oh.
Obviously we've got our friends from the what's that the podcast down in Southern Indiana.
Oh, a bunch of people who want to be the stable.
That's right. A bunch of people that want to be the stable, also known as a bunch of marks. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for our friends Brian and Raven Daniels. Thank you guys for joining us. We saw you guys down there, and we were like, you know what? We're going to get rid of these wrestlers, and we're going to put some real talent up here to talk to us. So thank you guys for joining us. I'll let you guys get all mic'd up. So I'm going to introduce our discussion topic, but obviously we'll go ahead and introduce everybody once they get their mics on. So I was talking to Brian earlier, and I've been watching a couple of other wrestling podcasts, mainly What Do You Want to Talk About from Cody Rhodes.
Oh. Yes.
And if you have not seen that podcast, I definitely recommend it. It's sponsored by Fanatics and I think Wheatley American Vodka.
It is.
correct.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's on YouTube.
It's fantastic.
It's incredible.
It is an amazing
It
show.
is an
Snippets.
incredible podcast.
Yeah.
They've got tons of great marketing
Is my mic-
for like their social media and stuff like that with little clips. But I definitely recommend anyone who is interested in seeing what wrestlers look like behind the scenes, just hanging out and talking.
Yeah.
It is definitely a podcast worth your time and money. Now, it is a long-form podcast. I think they are somewhere in the neighborhood of like an hour and 10 to an hour and 30 minutes, depending on who they've got on there.
Oh, like
I
us,
think
okay.
he's got a
Something like that, yeah.
I think he's got a few. I know he's got Damian Priest on there. I think he's got Brandy Rhodes, and
Just
I
had Kevin Owens.
Just had Kevin Owens, which is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And obviously, probably lots more to come. But it got me thinking because they talked a little bit about like Stardust and Kevin Owens talks a little bit about how WWE, at one time when Damian Priest was still in NXT, tried to get Kevin Owens to be on-screen best friends with Damian Priest. And,
that was funny.
And it got me thinking about one thing that I don't know that we have gotten a chance to talk on is storylines that have been presented to us in wrestling programming. Some that have succeeded and some that have failed, regardless how much it was pushed, right? So an example that I used, and this is kind of an easy one, so to kind of get those creative juices flowing, one that I think we can all look at in current time as a storyline that we thought was going to have a lot of legs, and then really kind of flopped, which I do think that to some extent it has started to recover in some of the most recent programming. But the John Cena, Cody Rhodes, WrestleMania storyline, or at least everything leading up to that, what we thought was going to happen, and then what ended up resolving at WrestleMania 41, I feel like a lot of us can probably say that that was not a storyline that we were a fan of, or that we don't feel like it was executed as effectively as it could. Now, I love Triple H. Love the man. I think he's an incredible and creative mind. He's gone out and said, basically like in shoot interviews or not shoot interviews, like, well, why would we ever do what people were expecting? Because then you're kind of taking the fun away, which I get.
Sure.
I love being surprised.
I do too.
But normally when
Surprise.
I'm surprised, the ones that I enjoy are ones that actually have kind of a positive twist. Whereas that one, I think we all kind of went, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So, what I'd like to talk a little bit about starting out is storylines. We'll start it on the negative. We'll end it on the positive. Storylines that you feel like WWE, or we'll just say mainstream wrestling. I'm not going to say WWE or AEW. I'm just going to say mainstream wrestling. So even like stuff that's regularly on television.
Current
TNA.
or can it pass?
No, I'm going to say across the generations of our own individual fandom.
Okay, because I've got one. I'm actually going to leave the current discussion probably for another podcast.
That's great.
I really want to get Deb's input on the Death Riders.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Because the pre-2025 Death Riders were just complete junk show, but they have turned it around in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
that's fine.
Again, I want to bring Deb into this.
I'm totally down. Let's say this. Let's say pre 2024.
Oh, this is easy for me.
Let's do pre-2024.
Mine is the WCW New Blood and the Hollywood story.
You didn't like that?
No, I didn't because
That was so terrible.
well, no, it
That
was
was so
I had
bad.
a lot of high hopes for it because I thought it was the right call for them to move forward with. Yes, let's make stars out of the likes of Billy Kidman and Chuck Palumbo and these guys coming out of the New Blood. And yeah, it's smart to include Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash and Diamond Dallas Page. These guys should make stars out of them. And all that happened in it was it showed how old Hulk had become. Even though he does another run in WWE, that's great. I never liked DDP as a heel. And they tried their best to make him a heel, and he was a people's champion guy. And Billy Kidman should have been able to stand to that next level, and yet no one was able to believe he could beat Hulk Hogan, even when he did.
Yeah, that was so bad.
I really struggled with that so much.
All right. What do you got, Brian?
Let's talk about the whole. God, remember when Mae Young gave birth to a hand?
Oh my gosh.
Mark Henry's hand.
See, when you guys were asking me about this topic, I had to think for a little bit, and I was like, oh yeah, let's talk about all the really bad Attitude Era storylines, because boy, there was a bunch of.
There were a lot.
There was a lot of slop during the Attitude Era. A lot of slop storylines. If you don't know, Mark Henry, current host of an amazing pro wrestling podcast called Busted Open, highly recommend you listen to it. He had a time during his career where he was referred to as a specific type of chocolate. I'm just going to leave it like that.
Oh my gosh.
And he had a relationship with Mae Young, who was like
Who, if you don't know,
80 years old.
something like that.
Super professional wrestler, by the way. She was real big in like the 40s and 50s. Former women's champion. A bona fide legend and a Hall of Famer currently as well.
Probably more like 70s, 80s.
Oh, maybe I went way too far back,
Yeah.
but still. Anyway, regardless, they had this really terrible storyline between him and her where they were together.
Mm-hmm.
He gets her pregnant, which that's
Yep.
kind of impossible for someone that age. But, hey, you never know. And I will never forget for the life of me. And if you haven't seen this, please watch this because I don't want you to forget it either. The scene
Don't
where they
listen to
go
him.
to the
My goal is to go my entire wrestling fandom life never seeing this.
I can't wait to show you this next week.
Absolutely
Oh.
not.
Anyway, Raven reacts to Mae Young giving birth to a hand.
Absolutely not.
And so they go to a hospital and she gives birth and God, I wish I was kidding. I would love to know what they were on at the writer's room that day.
Yeah.
That had to have been a Vince Russo call, right?
Oh,
He was there for that,
Was he?
right? I'm pretty
I don't
sure.
know. He
was.
might have been in
I
WCW.
think he was in
by
WCW.
then.
I think he
by
was still in
now.
WCW by then. But regardless, it is quite the scene that when you see it once, you never need to see it again.
yeah, that's true.
And it's God, it's awful. It's pretty bad. Can I give another one? I don't think Raven's going to have too many of these because she's
That's
still a
fine.
newish fan. But
That's fine.
I'll tell you this one too. I don't know how much of this I can talk about because it is kind of a family show after
Yes.
all.
Yeah. Keep
But-
it PG, but I mean, obviously you can allude.
But there was a storyline, and I can't talk about this in depth. This is because we got to get this. This is a horrible one too. It involved Triple H, Kane, and a person named Katie Vick.
Oh,
yeah.
And I'm not even going to talk about that one in depth because
Yeah.
it's really not appropriate.
No.
But I will say, if you want to look it up for yourself.
Yeah.
But that was a
That
really
was a rough one.
bad one. I mean,
That
that
was a
whole
rough
entire Attitude Era had. You had
There were
you,
so
you,
many questions. Like looking back
Yeah.
20 years ago in wrestling and going, I was a fan.
and we were like kids.
Sold out. Oh, yeah. 100%.
We learned a lot about the world watching pro wrestling back
Yeah.
in the.
That's a
that
fact.
was the thing we have to remember, though, for specifically WWE at the time, because of the Attitude Era and them trying to put down WCW, they were throwing everything at the wall to see what stuck.
Yeah.
And in that
They
instance,
legitimately
it
were.
was clearly like that was the everything you didn't need to do. It's part of the reason. Again, we're going to talk more about this with Deb, but she was so
Yeah.
turned off by the Death Riders thing because of the use of the plastic bag. She could have probably gotten over so
Oh.
much of the other stuff, but as a doctor who has seen things in
Yeah.
the emergency room, like there are some things that just, frankly, guys, don't need to make it on TV. Whether it's a pay-per-view or not, don't need to make it on TV.
Remember when they were pushing Hornswoggle as Vince's illegitimate son?
Oh, absolutely. The funny thing about that is I 100% believe Vince McMahon would do that.
I do
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
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 Raven,
Without a doubt.
Raven, do you have one that you can think of?
At all that you just
Not
didn't like.
pre 2024. No.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I've
Because
got a couple.
I was still getting into wrestling then,
Yeah.
so I wasn't paying as close of attention to that kind of stuff.
That's
Fair.
totally
as
fine.
I do
Totally
now.
fair.
Totally fine. I wasn't sure if
Yeah.
in his wide wisdom of wrestling, if Brian had ever.
Oh, I've heard about.
Okay.
Oh no, she knows the
heard about
stories. She
things.
just hasn't
Okay.
I just,
experienced the
as
lore.
far as like
Gotcha.
the experience
did.
of
Yeah.
the entirety of the storylines,
Gotcha.
I wouldn't know what to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a couple.
Oh, Okay. Yeah.
The
let's hear it.
first one I thought of, because you started talking about Mark Henry and his progeny, and then I thought, man, do you remember Jason Jordan being Kurt Angle's son?
I'm
and
so glad when I
how-
talked about the Leprechaun deal. I thought I was so glad you brought this up. Yes.
Oh, that was so. You know what? Here's what I will say: it could have worked, but it was
Oh, no.
so bad.
It was so bad.
If they would have switched, because at the time Jason Jordan and Chad Gable were tag team partners.
Tag team partners. Yeah.
If Chad Gable would have been in that role over Jason Jordan, it would have been so much more believable.
Okay, I don't even know what you're speaking of entirely.
Okay.
And I can absolutely agree with that because when I
Oh,
first
yeah.
started watching wrestling, I would get Chad Gable and Kurt Angle mixed up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I think Jason Jordan still works for WWE.
He is a production.
Yeah, that's what I
he's
thought.
a
He's
member
still
of
a production guy.
And the thing about that whole thing too is that they tried so hard to recreate the world's greatest tag team, Shelton Benjamin, and Charlie Haas.
Right.
You can't do that.
You can't do that.
Those two guys are just
And the fact
top
is,
notch.
they could they were an incredible tag team.
absolutely.
Chad Gable and Jason Jordan were an incredible tag
I
team.
still feel like Shelton Benjamin's one of the most underrated people that never
100%.
got a world
Uh-huh.
title.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's doing great things in AEW right now.
He
with
is,
her
yeah.
Syndicate. Great
Syndicate. Yeah, her
Oh,
Syndicate.
I remember who you're talking about now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We saw him at
We
SCX.
saw him, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep.
but basically they tried to play it off. So they kind of broke up their tag team. Jason Jordan and Chad Gable's tag team got broken up because there was controversy that Jason Jordan, who I'm going to guess, these are just ballpark numbers. I think Jason Jordan is probably between 6'3" and 6'5". He's a big dude.
He is a big guy. Yeah. He's big.
And he is I think so. So he is African American, and obviously Kurt Angle is not.
Or at least mixed. So he could be
Yeah.
or-
Absolutely. And I think what was so difficult to buy into that storyline was if you were an intelligent wrestling fan, and I don't even mean you have to be massively versed in the
Yeah.
history of Kurt Angle,
Yeah.
but if you know anything about Kurt Angle and TNA and the things that happened with him and his former wife Karen,
Yeah.
I just feel like that angle is incredibly insensitive to who Jason Jordan and who Kurt Angle and who their families
Right.
actually
Yeah. That
are.
was so weird.
And I just feel like there are some lines that we do not need to blur.
I have to agree. I feel like I'm one of those ones because you're bringing up thoughts and like concepts. There was a storyline that AJ Styles did before he left TNA with a I don't even right now I'm forgetting her name, but that actress who acted like AJ was having an affair with her. The actress just recently passed away.
Yeah.
And that just brought up another wave of like, why are we doing family oriented? Wait, yes, okay, he's pointing us all. Family related things like this.
Thanks, Brandon.
When they're not there to defend himself.
The MVP.
Like,
Right.
As much as I hated the whole stalker gimmick with DDP and The Undertaker, at least Sarah was there
Right.
to say
I
something
forgot
about
all
it.
about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Versus when Samoa Joe brought up Wendy
Oh,
for
yeah.
AJ Styles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
Again,
no.
Wendy
dude.
at least was at the pay-per-view to at least see her accuser or whatever.
And here's something I will also add to that specific storyline. AJ Styles and Samoa Joe are like best friends.
Oh yeah.
And so
Yeah, they really
there's
are.
a lot of license that you can have when you are connected with somebody on that level that those guys are.
Right.
I just don't feel first off, I just feel like it's lazy creative writing when you are just like, hey, let's just rerun this whole scenario again.
Oh God, I hate that.
And
Yeah.
and then also it is a detriment to three people, because Kurt Angle included, three people who at the time are so incredibly talented in the business of professional wrestling. And you hand them this idea and it's like, okay, make it work. It's like, that's not how, no, that's not good.
Yeah,
It's
which
not good.
which just circles back to Kevin Owens and Damian Priest, and I remember when
Right.
I heard that part, I was like, that would be the weirdest,
It was so
like,
funny
make
too.
no sense thing to do.
Listening to those guys talk about it was so funny.
Yeah.
It was so funny. I definitely encourage you guys to check it out. Okay, so let's spin it now with a positive note. We got
Yeah,
about
let's end
10
it on a
minutes
positive
left.
note. Yeah.
So that's fine. 7 minutes. A storyline that started off a little rough, maybe, or maybe didn't seem like it was going to have a lot of longevity in it, but then turned into kind of a diamond in the rough. Okay, and this I'm going to give because I want if Raven's got one from any era that she's gotten a chance to check out, I'm going to leave it open for interpretation on
Love
this
it.
one.
Yeah.
So this is any storyline that you were like, I don't know if this is going to work out, to then go, oh, wow, That worked out a lot better than I expected. Okay, great. Okay. Raven, I'm going to start with you then.
So only because this turned, okay. Judgment Day. I was there for the inception of Judgment Day.
With
I had
Edge?
just started wrestling when Dom and I started wrestling. I just started watching wrestling. Thank you, Brian. I have not wrestled. Just started watching when Dom and Ray were still tag team partners.
Yep.
And this was when, Dom was mad that Ray was taking Edge's side, and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And of course, Dom got drug into the Judgment Day, but I was there for the entire inception, and I was just like, "This is ridiculous." I did not like Dom at all. And of course, he was still coming into his own at that point. I mean, that was his first, I think, singles. Well, he not even single. He was in Judgment Day, obviously, but breaking away from Ray, and
absolutely.
I just thought the entire idea was awful. And that turned out to be my absolute favorite faction. Loved it. I think it's running its course now. I think it's going on a little bit too long, but man, that was so amazing to see how that story developed.
I've got mine.
I got mine too. Yeah, go for it.
And it came off kind of what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not always a big fan of splitting up factions unless there's a very clear plan for that. And for years, that's the way it was. I just why are we splitting this up? This doesn't make sense. Sometimes things run their course. I get it. I was in the stands when Seth Rollins hit Roman Reigns. Because
I'm so glad you brought this up.
It was in Indianapolis.
Yes, it was.
I could not fathom what I was watching.
Yeah, I know, me neither. Yeah, that was insane.
And did not think it was, because of all the guys I thought was going to turn, honestly, I thought it was going to be John or Dean, or however you know him.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be the one to do it, not Seth. Seth was not the one I expected, so I was really concerned about that. I was wrong.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That really worked. I was way wrong.
There you go.
All right, Brian.
Okay, so this is more or less not necessarily a storyline getting rough, but a person that kind of was pushed on us, but then kind of turned into that diamond in the rough. And then that came amazing storyline.
I think I know where you're going.
I got to talk about Roman Reigns.
Yep, that's where I thought you were going.
Yeah.
Man, I hated him.
Right. When he was the big dog?
Hated him, the big dog. Dude.
Yeah, the big dog.
And he didn't like him even when I started watching wrestling.
Yeah, I just, for me, they pushed him just so hard. And it's funny because that correlates into what Josh just talked about. We're going right into that. And, they did all these things, man. They tried to make him the next big GOAT like John Cena. Because we were going through this whole era of people loving John Cena, really loving him, right? And then they just wanted to get us into this next person. And they wanted to force us to like Roman Reigns as a baby face. And I will never forget when he won the Rumble and Rock came out there and tried to put his arm up and say, do him a favor. And they even made him wear eye contacts that changed the color of his eyes. Remember that?
Yeah.
That was weird.
Yeah. Weren't they blue?
They were, yeah. It was the weirdest thing. And then you fast forward a few years, and they just start us on this path of doing something that was just a years-long gathering of all these amazing Samoans.
Yeah.
You had Jay and Jimmy who they were doing their own thing for a while in NXT, and they brought them in, to SmackDown, and they tried to, Roman was trying to kind of came back as a heel. And man, we got to see one of the coolest, I would dare say the biggest factions in modern WWE in the Bloodline. The way that entire storyline just carried on.
Yeah, that was amazing.
I mean, culminating in, I would dare say, the greatest modern WrestleMania we've ever got to see in WrestleMania 40 last year. Cody Rhodes coming back. It was this culmination of Cody and his dad, what he wanted to do with his dad, and he wanted to finish the story his dad never got to, and he had to do that by going through Roman Reigns and his empire that he had built with the bloodline, with the Usos, Solo Sikoa. You get Paul Heyman in there too. I mean, man, what I would say the greatest modern manager in wrestling right now.
He is 100% the
know.
Bobby Heenan of the current era.
Yeah, without a doubt, and the mouthpiece. And what they did was they made this just prestigious group of guys who had all the gold, dude.
And to compliment you on that, because I think we all kind of agree on that. First off, I was not a huge fan of the Big Dog Roman Reigns, but I think we all saw what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
I think what turned the table for him was being able to be with his cousins, Jimmy and Jay.
Yes.
I think that because Jimmy and Jay were over as a tag team,
Yeah.
but I think in general there was a comfort level that Roman still did not have until he started wrestling with his cousins. And
Well,
all of a sudden
I
turned
can
it
see that.
into a family affair.
I think it also helped too that so many people hated him that
Yes.
they were trying to force feed him to us.
Yeah.
So he could so easily slide right into that heel role.
Yeah.
And at the time, we didn't really have a big heel at the moment.
Yeah.
We didn't have one huge heel, and what went down at WrestleMania 40 and that build-up was just, they said this before, I'll say it again, it was pure cinema.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
literally were watching a movie in the form of professional wrestling,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
matches and everything was just, whew. I mean, I don't know if we're ever going to experience something quite like that again anytime soon anyway.
Yeah. And I think to kind of cap it all off real quick, and I'll keep it very short because I want to make sure we hit our 3 count, and Brandon's up here, so he's going to kick us off the stage here in a second. But
Yeah.
I think that a guy who struggled a little bit and then finally found his rhythm, and we've already kind of talked about
Yeah.
him earlier with Mike Noble and Mark Madness, is the late great. Oh my gosh.
Bray.
Thank
Bray?
you, Bray Wyatt.
Bray
oh my
Wyatt.
gosh, his name was in my brain, and then literally as I went to say him, I forgot it.
Yeah.
The late great Bray Wyatt. As Husky Harris struggled, but then
Jesus.
as soon as he became that Louisiana sort of weird poltergeisty cult leader guy, all of a sudden, man, there was
Wyatt
just
family.
this creative genius that overcame that group, and they had some incredible things happen, and I really hope that we can recapture some of that magic with Bo Dallas and the Wyatt Six.
I hope so.
We'll see what happens. I think that they are waiting far too long to get Alexa Bliss involved with it, but we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll get something soon.
I
But we'll
agree.
see. We'll see.
I agree.
All right, so like every episode of The Stable, we have a wind down 3 count. We're going to go ahead and knock this out real quick on what I believe is episode 38, could be 39. We don't know. You'll see it on the YouTubes and stuff. But here we go. You guys ready? You know how
We're ready. We know how
you
this
guys know how
goes.
this works. All right, here we go. The Unstable Marks is the true Mount Rushmore of wrestling. One. Mark Henry is always that guy you can count on for an extra hand. 2. And lastly, Mike Noble. 3. Thank you guys so much for hanging out and listening to the Stable Podcast, a.k.a. the Unstable Marks.
Unstable Marks.
We
Yes.
love you all, and we will check you later.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Deuces.